Oh yeah, welcome to the Focal Podcast. I'm Taylor Jackson, reading you this intro, even though I am not in the episode. Goodbye.
What is up, Focal friends? My name's Sierra, and welcome back to What the Focal, the only photography podcast made by non-photographers, where we interview industry experts to hear from their stories and learn from their experiences. On this week, we're joined by the amazing Brenton Cox, so welcome, Brenton. Okay, perfect. Well, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, who you are, everything like that.
Well, g'day. I'm Brenton. I'm a photographer based in the central west of New South Wales. I'm 21. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. I do weddings, real estate, pretty much anything that you can come up with. I'll somehow figure a way of photographing it. So, yeah.
Nice. And how did you kind of get started in photography?
Photography, it's been one of those weird journeys where in high school, we were the first year to go through with iPads. And so everyone's taking photos on their iPads. And I had a cousin at that time doing photography. And he was traveling all over the world doing different sort of photos. And so basically, he came down one day and he brought all his camera gear. And I was like, oh, my God, this guy's traveling the world. How cool. I was like, right, that's fun. And so I'd go around and I'd take photos on my iPad all the time, and it sort of led into then mum buying me a camera for my birthday and, shooting. And a few years later down the track, buying lenses, all of that fun stuff, and hitting up a whole bunch of photographers being like, hey, can I work for you? Especially in high school. So one of the photographers in the area who was a big wedding photographer, she reached out and said, do you want to come work for me? So worked for her for a few years doing weddings on the weekends and while doing high school. So then it's just sort of progressed. We had COVID, but the lockdowns weren't as bad as the rest of the world, especially out here in the West. So the photography business sort of just took off. I went solo and it's just been crazy ever since. So no, she's been good.
Awesome. So in high school, you were doing the photography on the side kind of then?
Yeah, so it was my side gig. So would be at school till the weekend or weekend off, and then be doing a wedding on the Saturday, editing on the Sunday, or doing family photos. And yeah, so it just kept me pretty busy.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, leading up to your final years, were you pretty set? Okay, photography is what I'm going to start doing full time, or were you kind of teetering okay, do I go to post-secondary, or were you set?
It was one of those things. I was umming and ahhing. There were so many ideas. I was like, do I become a teacher? Because that was originally the career I was going into, or go overseas traveling. And I we had COVID. I was the year that we came out of school and then had COVID. And so I was like, right, what do we do? So I gave the photography a few years to be like, right, I'll give it a year, see how it goes. And then I was like, the next year came along and I was like, right, yeah, let's see how it goes again. And so it just kept going. And I was like, right, yeah, let's just keep doing this and see where it takes me. And so far it's, so many incredible journeys.
Yeah. So if you were to not continue with photography, do you think it would be teaching that you would continue on with, or what kind of career path do you think you would choose if not photography?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's I'd probably be working in a coffee shop, to be honest. There's so many coffee shop jobs at the moment. Well, I was studying originally to do sports medicine and be a PT. So originally I was in that weird sort of high school stage where everyone's, getting all into the gym. And so I was doing that. Not anymore. The wedding season's hit me pretty hard. No, so I was originally looking at doing that or traveling overseas. So I've got a few family over in the Bahamas. So I was looking to go over there and possibly work over there. Basically, the world was my oyster and I had no idea of what I was going to do. And yeah, photography sort of just kept chugging along and new opportunities came out of the way. And so frankly, I think it would have just been a whole bunch of different jobs and careers if photography hadn't picked up,
Right. Kind of fell into your lap and was the perfect fit for what you were looking for.
Yeah, it just worked out well. It was just time, place, everything. and just the people as well. Like there was so many people that got me to where I am, and it's just like everyone sort of helped out along the journey. So it's been really, really good.
Well, on that note, like, what do you think you took away from some of the people that you met along the way? Like, what were key moments that really helped you progress?
There's been a lot of moments in my career with a lot of different emotions. In terms of, I used to do photos for a lot of schools around the area, and I found that it was quite sad. A few parents had actually passed away, and that was when the real message of photography sort of hit me in terms of they had actually in the yearbook posted up the photos of the family, and this was the last family photo that these people had had. And it sort of really hit home the power of photography. And in terms of the journey, like there has been so many little moments of just people's interactions and how people have met and the craziness of life and people meeting. I think that's been really, really beautiful to be able to capture and learn from.
That's such a like lovely answer. It's so sweet and it just like reminds like people like why photos are so important. And I love it. Every time I'm like reminded like of that importance that photos have, it just like touches my heart because it's like I don't know, you're like creating something that lasts forever, which is
Yeah, it's one
so
of those
special.
things you never think about it. Like you go, oh yeah, they're just a photographer. But then you started like being a part of so many moments. And I find with weddings, like the amount of weddings you go to and you're only either a part of the bridal party or you're just a guest at the wedding. And it's something special about being there and being like the ultimate sort of third wheel for the whole day and be with so many people and you sort of become a part of their family. And I think it's that whole joy of connecting. And because I'm in the central west of New South Wales, we are very small communities. Pretty much you're either related to half the town or you get to know everyone pretty quickly. And so you become sort of, yeah, part of all these little families and it just grows and you can be down the street and someone go, oh, you've shot my auntie's wedding. Like the other day I was getting my car looked at and just happened to be that these people I'd shot their like some family photos that of relatives of theirs. And so it was just this beautiful sort of connection that we have out here.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. You get in with the families and everyone starts to know you.
Yeah, pretty much. You get invited to a few family events after a while, and it's just great.
I love the comment that you made about like kind of being the ultimate third wheel because you kind of like you just let like extra extension for the day just there to like capture everything that happens and it's so cool.
No, it's fun. Well, it's so hard because it's like getting your photos taken is like one of the worst things. I hate getting my photo taken. And so I sort of understand where it's coming from. You sort of just want to like joke around, have a bit of fun, just
Yeah.
kick back, relax. And so, yeah, you just want to come in as be with their friend, really,
Yeah.
because you know how daunting it is. And like, end of the day, you just laugh and joke around. And I think that's the joy of it. Like, you become friends with these people.
Hmm. So would you say it's really important to be able to make connections really easily to like work as a photographer specifically in weddings?
Well, out here, basically everything's word of mouth, or like
Hmm.
primarily. We do get a lot of people coming from Sydney because we're only about 3 hours
Hmm.
from there over the mountains. So a lot of just general work and a lot of weddings is references from family members or people that were at the wedding and they're like, oh, that guy was all right. You know, he did okay. So, you know, well, let's hire him for our wedding. So a lot of it, yeah, is that word of mouth. And I find
Hmm.
that building that community, like you can be doing someone's house and the next thing you know, you'll be doing their wedding or you can be doing family photos and they happen to know someone that needs to get like married and be like, right, here's a photographer. So yeah, it seems to be that like that word of mouth is really, really strong out here. So that sense of
Hmm.
community, building connections with people is really, really fun.
So is there something like you try and keep in your mind when like just dealing with anyone that like reminds you of how you're trying to build these connections or anything like that?
With building the connections, how I sort of take the photography aspect as well into it is I try and create a moment that's going to last longer than all of us because one day we're not going to be around, as crazy as it is. And I want someone to be able to look at those photographs and go, oh, wow, and like have a story from it. And I think um, it's sort of it's that journey that I want to bring people on. And I try and sort of get into people's stories and really learn about who they are, what makes them tick. I find people really interesting. And so that's how I sort of approach people. I really want to know your story. And like, I love having a yarn. Like, it's just so good.
Do you sit down with a lot of potential like couples before shooting the weddings to get to know them a bit, make sure they're a good fit? Or how do you kind of pick your couples, or do you just take on everyone kind of that contacts you?
Normally when I get a message or an email, I'll be like, look, let's catch up either for a call or let's go have coffee. I think it's so important to catch up with who you're about to photograph because, to find whether or not you're going to be a good mix. Like, we could sit there and be able to chat away for hours, or we might not be. And end of the day, if we can chat for hours and it just sort of flows, it means you're going to be comfortable with me.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing in terms of getting photos, because if you trust me and we can chat and relax, then the day is going to be a breeze. And if not, then maybe I can reference someone, because weddings, like, it is a whirlwind of different things that you've got to book and plan and all of that. So it's nice to be able to sit down and be like, right, have you got this sorted, or what are your thoughts on this, and be able to sort of help guide them as well in their wedding journey, because it gets quite stressful. It gets expensive and stressful when it comes to weddings, and trying to navigate what you want to do. So yeah, and there's so many different things with weddings, like whether or not you're going to have like what sort of flowers, or what your bridesmaids' dresses are going to be. So there's all of those little like nitpicks that you can see through doing so many weddings that you're like, hey, I've seen this at a few weddings. It might not be the best fit for you.
Okay, so on that, what do you look for? Like, how do you know, okay, this client's going to be a good fit for me? Other than like the conversations flowing, like, are there like, certain weddings you're more drawn to, that kind of thing?
I find I'm really drawn to farm weddings. So out where I'm located, there's a lot of vineyards and a lot of properties. So I find that with the people I sort of gravitate towards, they're just sort of your run-of-the-mill average Joe Blow that just wants to have fun and get in and have a good time. And so it doesn't matter what you look like, if you're down to have a good time. And you sort of get that vibe from when they walk into sitting down, and you get that vibe of their story when they're talking to you about that. I find, and if they have a property wedding, look, I'll travel anywhere for a good old farm wedding. I find they're just some of the best because it's just close and family, and it's just who you are. I find that's the best thing, and everyone's comfortable because you're in a location which is you. You've either grown up in it, or you've got family. A lot of our venues do have a lot of history with a lot of families that have come out here, so there is that. I had a cousin's wedding, which was at a Canobolas dance hall, which is out near our mountain, which is Mount Canobolas. And so a lot of family history and returns of his family had come out there. They lived just up the road and all of that sort of history. So it was really nice for them to come there. But yeah, so I find there's also the vineyard weddings, which are nice to have that little country escape and get away from the city life.
That sounds so nice.
Yeah, she's a real...
Yeah, I love looking through your photos because they're always like the very much, you can tell you like the farms and the vineyards, and they're like very, like, it just feels like peaceful and calm, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, look, she's beautiful out here. She's a really, really good country. And there's less people, but it's that you can go up the road and there'll be a forestry with mountains that look almost like New Zealand somewhat.
Oh, no.
And then you've got the beautiful like vines, and then you go like a few miles up the road and it's flat country. So there's so many beautiful places, and like you've got the natives, and then you've got everything. So there's so many locations. And then we've got waterfalls. We're in a small country town, and there's all these like it's crazy. One of the locations I go out to is near our mine. And so it's a big forestry area, and there's all these dams and creeks and little hidden water holes, and you're driving through the forest and everyone goes, oh God, he's a serial killer, as they're driving through these dark things. And then they open up and there's these beautiful mountains, and there's this like little ponds that like people go swimming in, and not many people know about it. So it's a little like little secret spots, and Orange is full of those little like secrets, hidey holes that are great for photos.
And you're like a local, so you know exactly where to find them.
Yeah, she's good fun, and you can keep driving. You always find places. I love driving, so I do
Do you ever
plenty
like
of it. And
find
just
something and you're like mark it on your map so you know to like come back there?
I've just started doing that. I was like, oh, because I send people, I go, oh yeah, this place, and they go, oh, we have no idea how to get there. And so I've started using like maps, little like marker pins. I was like, oh, this is genius. I was like, oh my God. And so yeah, I used to be like, right, I'm in a white car. Here's my number if you get lost. And like my phone number. And most of the places we go to are no service. So it's really, really hard. So now that the map like icons, you can just go directly where I am. And I just sit in the same spot on the road. And so many of the locals drive past going, oh, what is this guy doing here sitting in the forest in the middle of nowhere? And then all of a sudden the car rocks up. I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. No, so she's pretty good in that regard.
I bet if the couples are like coming in separate vehicles, they're like, where is he taking us?
Yeah, I've had a few families and they're like, all right, where are we going? So yeah, and then like especially family, some family members come a little bit late and we go just slightly up the road, and you just wouldn't know where to go because there's so many of the similar roads. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotta stick together.
Yeah, it's like, right, yeah, we're in it for the and getting 4-wheel drives. I've realized now that I can't have little cars going out in some of the places I go to.
You have to have,
I used to go, yeah, I used to have a little Mazda car, and I used to go out there all the time in this little car. And how I got places, I have no idea. So I somewhat have to go, right, message them, have you got a big car? If not, I'll come pick you up. What is your Spotify playlist?
Which do you think is your favorite to pick or favorite to shoot? Because you mentioned you do weddings, families, couples, real estate. I know it might be like picking a favorite child, but if you had to choose one, which is your favorite?
Weddings by far. It's like you're going to someone's party. It's like you're celebrating love. I honestly, and I love the dance floor. I love to get my dance on. So it's good. You're going, you're working, and then at the end of the night you get to dance and have fun and have cake and and drink and enjoy yourself. As well as, meeting all these amazing people.
Your office is the dance floor.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, the amount of times I'll go dancing with the groom or the bride and just mucking around. Look, I can't really dance, but we make it work. So
that's awesome. What do you think sets your business apart from others?
Oh, we've got a few photographers out here. End of the day, I think there's those little moments that I like to create. I sort of like to close your eyes, sort of reflect back on the journey that you've been on. Like, think about when he proposed or she proposed, or think about that, like you're having your child. Like, how did that make you feel? I love to get really into people's emotions and sort of build that connection. There were a few photographers out here that originally were doing that and sort of just picking bits and pieces, because I've worked with so many photographers out this area that are just all phenomenal. I've sort of picked bits and pieces from what they do and sort of mashed into this like my business. And they're so chill with it. Like, we're such a good community. So I find that I'm a combination of all these other photographers' styles sort of merged into one, with them being like, right, how can I like mix them together and then do my own thing and sort of build on it. So I think, it's sort of it's that mixture that sort of makes me a little bit different. At the end of the day, I just want to have a good time and party and enjoy people's stories. I just love having a chat with people. So yeah.
Love that. Glad to have you on the podcast then and chat with you.
That's good.
Yeah. What were some things that you learned at the beginning of starting your business where you were thinking, man, I wish I could have just asked someone how to do this instead of trying to figure it out myself?
Man, invoicing. I paid big time for this one. I used to do everything on pages. I used to make the documents in pages, and because I was paranoid, I used to do everything in notes, and I'd have everything written down, how much was paid, and every month I'd have to go in and double check. And I found it got tedious, and when someone hadn't paid or you hadn't checked certain things, it would just become a mess.
Yeah.
I'm so glad now that I've got some people helping me in that side of things, and showed me a few little apps and things like that. Even like website, Like I remember the days when I created a website and I was just like, oh, and all the time I'd be changing it and I was like, this is just hopeless. Like, oh. And so like having Focal is just so good. Having something that's built for the SEO and is ranking on Google and I can just message be like, hey, can I add this to my website or can I do this? And the messages are so quick. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow. I'll be like, driving somewhere, I'll pull over and I'll be like, actually, this would be really cool on the website because I have far too much time driving and coming up with ideas.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'd pull over and be like, right, and I'd message the Focal team on good old Messenger and be like, sweet, wow, I got a message reply. So that's really, really handy. There's been so many different things, like with other photographers, talking to them, like especially learning financially how to make an income of this job and career, how to be diversified, and not hit burnout. That's why I do so many different sort of topics in photography. It just keeps things spicy and not boring, and you take certain bits away from everything.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, to keep things fresh and like, you aren't bored, you're learning new skills.
Yeah, it just keeps things interesting, you know? So nothing worse than doing the same thing over and over again. Like I'd love to, and I probably do too much. So yeah, need to dial that one back.
So when you're leaving for a photo shoot, what are 5 things, either photography related or not, that you can't leave the house without?
Champagne, bring it to every shoot. It is a great icebreaker. There's been so many times I've been soaking wet with champagne coming home, and that's a-okay because everyone's having a fun time. Yeah, so I bring a lot of champagne with me. My boots, love my boots. Got a pair of RMs, great Australian brand. I have had them for like 8 years. I've just bought a new pair, but the old pair's great. I prefer the old pair because they're comfy. I bring them to everywhere. My cameras, love my cameras. You know, they might. Oh,
they're a little bit important.
Yeah, you know. Oh, what else? I gotta bring my car. Can't get anywhere without my car. That's a bit generic. Lenses. An outfit change just in case. You never know. Getting covered in champagne. I've just started bringing sparklers. I'm still working that one out on how to get sparklers to work out. We'll see how they go. And I'm thinking about bringing confetti, like biodegradable stuff. It's just so hard to find. Yeah, something that can just like explode, but then you can refill it. So you're not just buying a whole bunch of canisters that are going to go to waste. So sort of working with that. Yeah, what else do I bring with me? Oh, that's a tricky one. I think that's probably about it, really. And myself, I bring myself.
Yeah.
I don't really bring any speakers or anything because the car's loud enough if we need music to rock out, or we'll just sing on the spot. You know?
Just break out a song.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great. You know what? That's all right.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So how do you prepare yourself for a wedding when it's coming up? And what does that look like? And how many days do you start prior to the wedding?
I find that I'll be having FaceTimes the leading up to the wedding. So like a couple months out, we'll just be like, hey, how you going? Just making sure you've got a celebrant because they were the hard things to get this year, apparently. And just making sure that if they're having a rehearsal that I'll rock up, just like texting back and forth the whole way through. There's nothing worse than going cold turkey and they just be like, oh, is our photographer going to rock up on the day? And that's that whole sort of building that friendship and sort of that, you're that friend that's just going to rock up on the day and be there and happen to be taking photos, but enjoying the day. I sort of then send little help guides and things like that if they do find that they're struggling, or just reference like bands. At the moment, I'm referencing a lot of different bands and musicians, because live music just makes the dance floor go crazy. I love it. Especially when you get to work with bands that you love.
True. So so your list is stacked with your favorites.
It's like it's like, oh well, they're all amazing. We've got so many incredible people. It's like you're just working with all different family members. Essentially. I find then if there's a rehearsal, I'll rock up to the rehearsal, and then on the wedding day, it is a whole bunch of music going far too loud in the car, getting ready and pumped, and recently pre-workout. Because if you after working a full day of just doing photography and you're slightly dead, you need that energy. Pre-workout, honestly, better than Red Bull, because I can't do soft drinks. Oh, I'm an old man at heart. And it gets you buzzing. Probably, it sounds a bit addictive. No, I find that and like red frogs and lollies. Like, oh god, I put on so much
Gives you
during
the
wedding
sugar
season.
rush.
Yeah, it's like a big pump of sugar. And you're like, woo! And everyone's like, what is he on?
You're like, who's ready?
Yeah, it's like, right, yeah, guys.
Love that. Gets the energy right up.
Yeah, she gets everything going. The focus is on. Yeah, I find that's the wedding game, and then just good tunes. Nothing better than a good playlist with
So
some
you're a
bangers.
big music guy then.
Love it. Look,
Yeah.
if you get some tunes playing in the car before you go to the ceremony and you're bopping, you're going crazy, especially if you're working with a videographer, and there's the two of you just bouncing off each other, just going crazy in the car. And then you get to you're just on a like ceremony reception, you're just on another level. You're just like energized, you're ready to go, life's good, nothing getting your way.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to go into it. So I'm like,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
how pumped can we get and how crazy? Because we want to be over the top. Everyone will be like, enjoying themselves, let's go crazy.
Yeah.
Let's just be dancing everywhere and having fun. Yeah.
You're gonna be the one setting the like bar. Everyone's gonna be matching your energy.
And then like everyone gets that level, everyone's dancing, especially bridal party. That's why we bring the champagne, because it's like pop some champagne, Formula One, let's go wild. Yeah. And then I regret it the next day because I'm like, oh, you come down with that sugar high and you're like, whoo.
Yeah. Do you need a day to recover usually?
Yeah, normally need a day to recover, but it's normally filled with working. It's like, all right, on to the next job. Especially this time coming up to Christmas, it's a bit hectic, but yeah. So,
are you usually filming weddings like both Saturdays and Sundays, and then the rest of the week it's like editing and delivering your packages, or what does that usually look like?
So normally, weddings are normally on my weekends. So they're normally my Friday, Saturdays. There is occasionally your odd week wedding. It's not too common out here, and like even the elopement scene out here isn't massive. It will be growing over the next few years, especially as we're heading sort of in a recession. I think there'll be more people doing that. I find that most of my week is doing commercial work, doing real estate or family photos in the afternoon. Like I think every weekend now, up until Christmas, I've got a family shoot through to Friday and then Sunday. And it's just to keep up with everyone wanting sort of those Christmas gifts. Then there's a lot of real estate out here. There's a lot of different agencies. There's B&Bs, like a huge Airbnb industry out this way.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing a lot of the Airbnbs. We've got a few management companies out this way, which are really, really fun. And
so with the real estate photography, you started more with like families and weddings first and then moved on to wedding or real estate photography, is that correct?
Yeah, real estate sort of came in a little bit later in the game. I was doing Airbnbs pretty much since I started. It was really weird because when I was 16, one of my high school teachers, he was doing PD, which is sports. Basically, we were both making our business at the same time. So he'd be sort of teachers in class, but like ducking out to do work phone calls and actually sitting on his computer, like setting up his business. And I was doing it at the same time. And it was really, really good because I finished school and then his business was just taking off at the same time mine was. And so we sort of teamed up and I was doing his photos for his Airbnb company and his management side of things. And so that sort of, that was like that nice safety net and then slowly building the weddings, especially after doing less and less with other photographers being like, right, let's start doing our own thing. I find, that was sort of the leap off stage and how my week and everything sort of goes. Yeah.
And how do you think your real estate photography compares to your wedding photography? And are there like aspects you like more and or dislike more? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think the real estate, because it is so like clean, keep everything clean, crisp, and simple. I thought with my wedding images, I went through all those stages where you do all different colors and make everything brown and make everything super, super colorful. I went through all of those stages and I sort of was like, right, how do we make something that's going to last forever and not be something that you look back on in a couple of years and go, yeah, that was a trend and a half. I don't want to be like that kitchen trend where you look at your kitchens, like we've got a kitchen at the moment, it's pine. I'm like pulling my hair out at the moment. I'm like, it needs to go. And so I don't want it to be like that. I want to have images that are just really clean and crisp. Nothing too crazy with the colors. Like how your day looked is how the images should look. with a little bit more punch and a little bit more contrast and a little bit more little color and a bit of spice. But I find, I keep things a little bit more simple. And that's the best way I feel for me going forward, because especially with my commercial clients, when someone books me, it's like I don't want to be shooting bed heads like I was shooting a couple of weeks ago for a kids bed company. And I didn't want to come in there and be like, all right, your beds are all like an orange, but we're going to make them look red because that's how my colors work. I find, keeping the colors really, really simple is key to having something that works both commercially and in every area that I do. It also allows for things to be a little bit speedier. Like I'll turn weddings around pretty quickly. Like I'll turn them around in about a week at the moment. I sit there. Yeah, it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'll sit there and edit, go quickly to a few jobs, come back home, edit. And then, so keeping some of this time, I was like, end of the day, you want to look back on it and go, wow, like that was our wedding day. Kids, this is exactly what it looked like. It's not like some fake brown color. We didn't look like Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so kind of on the same topic, how do you think you would describe your photography style, the way you edit photos, if you had to like describe it in a few words?
Australian. I think that's the best way to explain it. It's that Aussie. It's that I want people. I try and make people laugh. I really want people to laugh, enjoy themselves, but then also get a little bit emotional and vulnerable. And I find through getting people comfortable, and I want that to come through in the images. I want things to be that bright, but then occasionally that dark moody if it was moody. I want things to reflect on how they felt and how they are at that period of time. Like for a family photo, you want them to be beautiful and light and bright because they're having fun and the kids, they're getting thrown in the air. And for an engagement session, you want them to be those nice, romantic, moody colors where they come close, but then which they can put on their invitation cards and things like that. So you want it also to print well, as well as that. So it's sort of that. Let's have fun. Let's bring that real Aussie spirit into it. I was shooting an English couple the other day who'd come up here and they're about to get married in England. And I was like, right. And so the whole idea is let's really bring in that theme of being Aussie, having fun, just getting in there and everything will be right. Don't stress about it. She'll be right. We'll work it out. So yeah, that's how I sort of work things out.
And now I'm curious, was that couple apprehensive at all? Like were they kind of like shocked as to like how you do things compared to like how they were used to people doing things, or were they pretty like, okay, let's just go with it?
They sort of went along with it. They sort of, I think they've been in Australia long enough. They sort of come into the country and sort of really become a part of the community. Like you pick it up pretty quickly. On how very chill and relaxed that we are as a country, and we just want to have fun. We just want to have fun and good times. And I think they came into that, and that was what they brought in. And then we just took it to that next level of just joking around and being a bit crude and and popping some champagne. And
love that. Always comes back to the champagne.
The champagne and dancing around. That's the best way to do it.
Awesome. I did want to ask though, like how do you think you found that style? Did it take a while to develop, or were you kind of like, okay, this is how I like to see photos. This is going to be my style?
It's been a build up over a couple of years. There's been those like times where I'm like, let's do really pose styled shoots. And that looks really nice. And there's been those other moments where I've been like, let's just sort of let them do their thing. And so it's been that sort of mix of everything. And then working with other photographers being like, I liked what they did there, but I didn't like what they did here. And being like, right, how do I find that balance of what they're doing and then mix everyone together? I think that was sort of the key in terms of getting everything to work together and bring my style together, is like, see what everyone's doing, be like, all right, and still learn from other photographers. Like I'll occasionally shoot with some really, really great photographers. We're all good friends and we've got such a nice tight-knit community where we get together occasionally. And we all talk about different things that we do. And so some of them are really, really religious in their way that they shoot. And so they get really personal and emotional. And some are just wanting to have a good time and sort of just crack jokes and muck around and really just have fun and dance and be crazy. And so it's sort of, it's taking those pics. And then some are a little bit more like they do the magazines. They're those magazine sort of photographers where they'll do those styled, everything perfect, everything clean. And so, mixing all of the different aspects of other photographers, I think, has been how I've got to where I am. Like, essentially, how my journey's been is through a whole bunch of photographers giving me opportunities and allowing me to get where I am. So, as well as other people in the community. So I think it's that build. It's that build of I've been able to do so many things and given so many opportunities. I really just want to show it off, have fun, and have a good old time.
It was the opportunities of like trying every different type of style that kind of made your like unique spice that you bring.
Like it's a real mix. And like sometimes I go, God, what am I doing? And especially when I work with people like videographers that I'm used to working with, I'll get a little bit wild with them. And it's just weird. It's like working with your friends and you just bounce off them. And so it's really, really fun.
Well, that's good though, because you're like getting a whole bunch of different people's perspectives and you're going to learn so much doing that.
Yeah, which is the best way. Like you're always learning, and I find, I learn through people's stories and people's experiences and what people are doing. I can't sit and read something. I'm very much I've got to be doing or talking to someone to learn, and so that's just how I've learned. It's just learned through being on the job.
Yeah,
probably been far too many times where I've stuffed up, but we're getting there. We'll get there eventually. So.
Well, and you started in high school, so you could just be like, well, I'm still in high school, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You kind of have that crutch.
Yeah, I'm like, I started in high school, but I'm getting old now. So age is creeping up. Oh, yeah.
Do you have a funny or a crazy moment that you remember from one of your shoots that you would want to share with us?
Oh, there's so many. Last wedding past, they were all big football players. So they picked the bride and groom up and they were chucking and they were contesting for the flowers and all this, and it got wild. I had another one a couple of weeks ago where the bride and I started doing the worm across the dance floor. And so then it was, and that same wedding I was working with a bloke who is a great friend of mine, and he looks like a big tall Aquaman from Wish. That's what he tells everyone. Love him to pieces. He's a real good character. And so the whole day we sort of bounce off each other, and I find like we get sprayed with champagne, and all that's what happened. We got drenched with champagne. And we were coming home and we got RBT'd, and the police were like, oh, have you been drinking? And we're like, no, we smell like alcohol because we got drenched. And they were like, rightio. So there's been those sort of stories, but we like, with him, I'll go dancing with him on the dance floor and everyone just goes, oh my God, the videographer and photographer have put their cameras down and are dancing like crazy. Doesn't look great, but it's all right.
You're setting the vibe so that you can get the video and the photos of other people matching that.
Once everyone sort of goes, you know what, let's get loose and carry on. Should be perfect. And once everyone gets those drinks into them, they're sweet. They're cruising.
Yeah.
A few bottles of wine, a few beers, or whatever else you're drinking or doing, then they're going fine.
I'm starting to get this idea of Australians in my head that you guys all really like to drink, because I had one other guest on this podcast and I was asking him what the from Australia. He was from Australia. And I was asking him what the difference between Canadian photographers and Australian photographers were, and he said that Canadians don't drink. And I was like, do you all drink with your couples?
We're big. I like, not every wedding. There's times I find, for me, there's times and places. Like if I'm doing a wedding where it's a little bit more formal and there's not a lot of drinking going on and it's a little bit more formal, then If they're a little bit more laid back, like a lot of the country weddings I'm doing, where you'll either be pulling up a swag and staying there for the night, and especially because it's been raining, a lot of the places we've been to have been bogged in. You've been bogged in and not been able to get out. Or if you're getting home, it's a wonder how you get home with how the roads are at the moment. So I find those ones, you sort of, if they're very chillaxed and it's a country farm wedding, you can sort of lay back, have fun, have a drink with them. It's a time and place. You sort of pick up on where they are. A lot of the time they'll say, hey, stay, have a drink with us, enjoy yourselves after you've finished work. And I think it's just that fine line that we walk, being professionals. It's like, whether or not do we do that? And I think it's in little bursts. Not every wedding will I go out and have a few with them. I never get drunk. I find I'll have a few and then just enjoy myself. No plastered weddings.
Well, also, I feel like it has to do with what you said earlier, which is like, you know, a lot of the people you're going to work for at these weddings. It's like a tight community that probably it's easier for you to like gauge who you're dealing with. Whereas maybe in Canada, more often, like, it's not as much of that community. You're being hired as to do like a professional. Well, you're all professionals. That's okay.
Yeah.
But like,
No.
I hope I'm getting across what I'm trying to say. You are a professional, and I recognize that.
Yeah. No, we're just a whole bunch of like alcoholics over here. We're just an island in the middle of nowhere, really, just getting drunk and having fun with a whole bunch of people having parties, pretty much. That's us, yeah. No. Well, I find, yeah, even like when I went overseas, it's a different world. I think because we are sort of a younger sort of world down here, there's there's less culture, but there is a bit of culture. In a way, I find that's probably why we're a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more just sort of have that sort of enjoy yourself, have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But it's not all the time. I find it's a real time and place and who
Yeah.
you're with and the company you're around. So
I just find it funny that the two guests I had on, like, both were. I'm like, I'm getting this idea in my head.
Yeah,
You
look,
all like
Australians
to have a
are.
really good time.
We all have a good time, and yeah, there is a few bush dwarfs and things that we get up to a lot down here.
So, what is one thing that people are usually really surprised to find out either about you or your photography business?
I find the big thing is everyone's really surprised that I started doing weddings at 16. And a lot of people get surprised that I'm 21 now, nearly 22 or 22 next year. But I find a lot of people go, "Oh my God, you're just a baby." Especially because a lot of them are like that late 20s into 30s getting married, which is sort of my demographic. And I mix with them as if I'm one of them. And I find people go, "Oh, I wasn't doing that at 21," and like having my own business and all of that. And so I find that's one thing that a lot of people get surprised about. And also the fact that I'm doing this as a full-time career, a lot of people get really surprised because out here, a lot of the main jobs are working at the mine, being a tradie. Like you either go to uni or TAFE, which TAFE's like sort of a lower uni sort of thing.
Right.
And then uni. I find so a lot of people get surprised when you're doing it full time. It's like, oh, so you're not working another job or a coffee shop, and it's like, no, I'm busy. I'm busy 7 days a week. There's always something to do. And I think people get really surprised about that and surprised that I am a little bit crazy in terms of how much work I'm doing at the moment. So I think that's the big thing.
On that, do you think, because of the way you're talking, like, you know, there's a lot of people working the mines, in the trades industry, do you think they have a perception of looking down on what you do? And do you have to kind of like defend your career choice and how you found success doing what you do?
I think there was a lot of time proving myself, and I find there's a lot of things saying like, hey, this is I can actually make an income off this, and a reasonable income. That's pretty good. And I think once people started seeing that and going, oh wow, like you don't have to go to uni to make like a decent income, that is what you would need to have a certificate for. I think a lot of people sort of change their minds. I find there's the occasional person that go, oh, you're doing photography, right? How's that going? And a few people get skeptical, but I think the way things have changed now, everyone's sort of become a bit more open, and there's been so many different like business endeavors out here that people are really surprised that people are making money on all sorts of different things. And like we at the end of the day, we are a luxury product. As much as we do provide memories and all of those sort of things, we're a luxury product that, without support of those people doing jobs in the mines and working at the cafes and doing like tradies and all of that fun stuff, that we wouldn't have a career based on it. So that's sort of where that luxury product at the end of the day that people get as a additional extra, because everyone can take photos on their phone, but it's that extra experience. And I think once you explain to people that it's all about that extra experience, it's like that, how do you get a little bit more into your relationship? You know, you're uncomfortable in being in front of a camera, but how do you become closer together as a couple from being in front of the camera and sort of expressing yourselves, showing your love to people? I think once you started explaining that to people and being like, this is sort of actually what I do, then people will, sort of relate to that in terms of being a photographer, but then also being like, I do real estate, I do 3D scans of houses and all sorts of real estate's thrown me in so many different directions. Showing them that I do that and bedheads and all the different product stuff. I think people start realizing, and a big push was during COVID when all of our cafes and everything went digital. Everything went on to online knitting photos. So everyone was like, oh, you were busy. And then they start seeing, once they see how the images are used, I think they understand a little bit more on the job and the career, and sort of get an understanding for it. It's just marketing. And,
That's good though. You had kind of spoken before about a little bit about like what your week looks like and how you like separate kind of the different things that you do with your photography business. And my question on that is kind of, because you started in high school and you maybe didn't have like a regular 9 to 5 job that you would have worked, how do you time manage all that? How do you kind of, set boundaries for yourself on your work and life balance, or are you still working on that? What's going on there?
Still working on it. It's a ever-growing journey. Like, you'll get messages at 6 a.m. or late at night and you're like, oh God. And you sort of got to reply to it, and it sort of becomes a thing, and you've got to do the editing and everything else. And I think, and invoicing and all the behind the scenes work, as a business, it's taken a lot of time starting to build those. Let's have time for myself. And I find, especially with weddings being that this year, pretty much every weekend, you sort of hit burnout pretty quickly. So it's that this year was that I've grinded to a point where I'm like, I've achieved all the goals I want to achieve this year, especially with working on the venues and sort of proving myself as being that younger photographer in the industry. I think that was the point that I had to prove this year, that I can stand against the other photographers and create something that is on par with what they're sort of doing. And I think a lot of it, meant this year I had to work my bum off. I had to get in and get on with it. And I find now I had to sacrifice a lot of time hanging out with friends and things like that. And especially because a lot of them are in Sydney or they're doing university, it does make it hard. And especially now that they're coming home for Christmas, it is hard because I am in that peak season in a way. For next year, definitely taking on less weddings and less work. There's been a few jobs I've been doing over a few years that I've done as sort of commitment jobs. And I'm sort of now palming them off to the next photographers, being like, hey, this is a great job for you to get started. It's time for me just to move on. And I think it's nice to see another generation of photographers in the area come up. So it's that sort of passing on the baton to move further in my career, but then have that freedom because I'm working for myself. And the reason I'm working for myself is so I can enjoy life. And so coming home some days, I'm like, oh, and then I have to go to a job on Sunday. I'm like, oh God, what have I done to myself? And it's that whole thing, and then I book it in. So it's taking definitely next year less on. And being able to travel a little bit more. Like, definitely I need to start seeing the world more. I did a little New Zealand. I was able to do a New Zealand trip this year, which was nice to get away for 2 weeks. And so I was like, right, where do I go from now? I want to go overseas. I want to do South America, Antarctica. I want to go to Canada and do the Rockies. There's so many different things that I want to do.
Come say hi to Focal.
Come say good day. Pop in. Well, next conference, I'll have to now.
Oh, yeah.
Tuning in, I was like, oh, the other Aussies rocked up. God damn, I need to. I was like, the South Australians are going, God, we've got to represent New South Wales. Especially the Central West. I was like, oh, God. So I think taking less on is the motto for next year. Taking less on, really enjoying time with the family and being around people, and really exploring my relationships. I've sort of let them go on the side a little bit too much, with that whole being focused on work, got to get stuff done. And so, next year, less will be happening. And really refining things and getting a little bit more personal and professional. Moving away from that sort of kid branding in a way. So,
watching your company grow kind of as you grow up.
Yeah, it's good. So there'll be a new logo and new website design, which I've got to message you guys and get stuff sorted on. But that's a work in progress at the moment.
Perfect. When you think back on kind of the career that you've had so far, was there a specific moment where you were like, okay, I've made it as a photographer. I have full rights to call myself a photographer. like kind of earned it?
I don't think I put this like this. I don't think I'll ever be a photographer fully. I
Mm.
don't think I'll ever reach that peak. See, for me, I was like, yeah, I'll do photography for a while. And then eventually, if it all sort of disappears or if I go do something else, I can always come back to it. I
Hmm.
don't think I'll ever make it as a photographer in a way. I feel like every day is getting closer to it, but I feel like it's that sort of thing of the imposter syndrome in a way that everyone sort of
Mm.
talks about. It's like, yeah, I do photos and I do all right at them. But I don't know if I'm a photographer. I think I am. I don't know. Uh, um, yeah, she probably should back ourselves a little bit more in
Yeah,
terms
for sure.
of
You should definitely back yourself because your photos are gorgeous. I
oh,
loved I was like I did like a deep dive for the interview and I was like, wow.
oh, thank you.
I loved the real estate ones so much. They were like so beautiful too. And I don't see as much of those. So I was like, oh my gosh, those are so beautiful. And then your weddings were also like, as I was like mentioning before, like the vineyards and the mountains that you kind of like to shoot in the farms. So peaceful and like beautiful.
It's so nice. Like and living out of town is beautiful. It's really nice. But yeah, so no, being a photographer, I think it's one of those things where it's like when do you call yourself that? Like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
goal? And I think it's because it's a career that's sort of really only new in terms of a lot of people doing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that sort of term hasn't sort of been established yet of what you've got to do to become that.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so creative and there's so many ways to become a photographer, I think, yeah, it's when do you become it? So
Yeah.
I don't think I will. I've sort of always been like, oh, I do photos, if you need me, I can take photo pics for you. But
Mm.
yeah, don't think it'll happen.
You don't think so, ever?
No, well, for me, I never wanted to be. If I enjoy taking photos, and I'll always take photos. I don't think I'll do this for life. That's always
Mm.
been a thing. I'm like, eventually there will come a time where I'll move on. I don't want to become a
Mm.
bitter photographer that's been doing it for 100 years and
Right.
doing the same things and becoming boring. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to call myself a photographer sort of puts me into that thing of I'll be doing that. I rather do
Mm.
so many different things that I have a vast portfolio of different careers and things.
Sounds perfect. Sounds kind of like what you were talking about before, where you love to keep things fresh and, try
Yeah.
new things. So sounds like it goes perfectly with who you are as a person.
So no, well, hopefully we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
It's always changing. It's like every couple of weeks it's a different idea. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, she's pretty all right.
So recently I have been taught that a lot of photographers have a bucket shot list. So I wanted to know if you had one and if you do, what are some of the photos that you are hoping to get to take? And if you don't, what would be one photo that you would want to put on your bucket shot list?
Oh, for weddings, there's
Mm.
all the under veil shots. I really, at the moment, am itching for a really good rain photo, like with the
Mm.
behind and the water all frozen. I'm really itching for that. Please, someone book a rain wedding for me. That'd be great. Just like a little sprinkle.
Mhm.
I'm really itching for that. There's been a few travel photos. I love doing travel photos. I find that I just sort of like things happening spontaneously and, I
Mm.
never
Mhm.
really know. Like I went to New Zealand and got all these really fun photos that I was like, wow, I put them on my wall. And even when I went to Sri Lanka and they were all images that I sort of was like, oh, that's a bucket list photo. I was really happy with it, but I didn't plan it. I think, yeah, early in my career, there was a shot on Mount Kosciuszko. It was a school excursion and I brought this little point and shoot camera and this man hiking and there's these clouds and it's on top of a mountain that we've been
Mm.
hiking for ages. And it sort of got picked up in the early days of Instagram and everyone sort of liked it. And BCF Australia put it on their page, which is the camping shop. And Tourism Australia posted it. And I was like, wow, this is great.
That is
Uh,
sick.
and so I find, yeah, for me, I don't really have a bucket list in terms
Mhm.
of like shots that I want to have. I find that if something comes up, I'm like, oh my God, I need to get this.
Mm.
Um, and that was like the worst part about New Zealand is I brought my camera, but I didn't bring it for all the trips. It was sort of like a detox, but New Zealand's
Mm.
beautiful. You just can't get away from it. And
Yeah.
so a lot of it was like phone stuff. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool shot on a phone. Like I was like, wow, I was blown away. And I think those were sort of the shots I was like, if I can get that on a phone, that's incredible. So I don't think I really had any bucket list shots sort of in my portfolio. Like there's nothing really I'd overly like to get. It's sort of like if the moments happen and I'm in a place where something's really cool, I'd love to capture it. But yeah, there's nothing I'm sort of striving out to get. It's sort of, yeah.
But I think that goes along with kind of what you said before, that you kind of just like to go with the flow. You're not posing your couples very often. So probably it helps you like keep authentic to yourself, to like not have like specific shots that you're looking for.
Yeah, hopefully, somewhat. Yeah, probably make a list. Oh, keep it. We'll find time for it. Yeah.
Maybe now I've like kind of got you thinking, and you'll be like, oh,
Like,
actually, I
God.
want to add this to my list.
Yeah, I'm like, all these photographers are making lists. Oh no, I need to get onto that.
Do you have anything that makes your life easier as a photographer?
Oh, look, Focal. Shout out to Focal. Makes my life great. QuickBooks, family. Look, I'm very lucky to have the family that has helped me get this. Working with the first photographer ever. I had to buy all this gear. I was shooting on little point and shoot cameras, and she's like, right, you need to get professional gear. So it's like a lot of money up front to get into the industry. And I think that was a testament to my grandparents being able to like buy a camera for me of professional standard at the time. And they've really helped in terms of the support of making my business name with mum. Mum's been really, really helpful, and friends and stuff. They've all been really, really helpful, I think. And then the community as well. Like I am so, so lucky to live in Orange and be a photographer in Orange, because there is so many lovely people. And I think it's a real testament to all the families you sort of become a part of and all of that. I think that's the joy of it. And what makes my life easy. It's like at the end of the day, I come home and there's all these people that I've been able to create memories for and shoot fun things for, and really get able to like be able to have fun and connect with them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And side note, I love that you grew up in a city called Orange. Like, I don't know what it is, but that is such an awesome name.
It's look, Orange, yeah. It's an interesting town. Beautiful. We're the city of color. So out in the Central West, we're sort of the heart of the Central West. So we're a small town, 3 hours out of Sydney, and we've got all 4 seasons. So you really feel that we do get snow, surprisingly, in Australia. It's not a lot. It's just like it's like, why is it snowing? And it gets bloody cold. Like at the moment, it's the bipolar city because the weather is so weird. 1 minute we're flooding, next minute we're in drought. It's strange. It doesn't help for being a photographer in the area when it's raining and during a session.
Yeah.
We're the city of color. So Orange is really, really lucky in terms of that. We've got a ancient volcano that's dormant. Dormant or extinct. I think that's probably the right thing. And so we've got all these beautiful like vineyards and a lot of like farmland out this way, a lot of orchards and things like that. So yeah, it's interesting, Orange. It's sort of that gateway to the Central West, because as soon as you go past Orange and you got another 3 hours out to a place called Dubbo, it is flat country. You start realizing how flat Australia is, because a lot of Australians, and this is one thing during COVID that sort of brought a lot of people out to Orange, is they realize once you get over the Blue Mountains, there's more. They're like, wow, there's actually places out here. So a lot of city people look at us and go, oh God, they live out in the country. There's nothing out here. You can look, there's not a lot out here. It gets a bit boring, but there's a lot of beautiful scenery and flat land if you're interested in that.
And your hidden secret spots.
And all the little hidden secret spots. Yeah, you can go driving and you can find some places. Yeah, so this is a crazy place. It's like that gateway to the Central West that everyone sort of starts discovering once you go over the mountains. So yeah, if you ever come to Australia, get out of the city. There's so many coastal cities. Look, they're all pretty much the same. They all compete with one another. You can't beat the country. You gotta get out here. It's really, really peaceful living. Like I live out of town, luckily in another small little village which no one knows about. It's like not even worth talking about. I think we live behind the pub, and then we've got a post office, and that's about it for us.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty all right. And that's basically what Orange is built on, is all these little small towns and things like that. So it's nice. It's nice to be out this way. Yeah. So ever come to Australia, get out of the cities and go over the mountains and come out west. It's quite nice.
It's on my personal bucket list to come out to Australia, so I'll have to make sure I add it to my list. Okay, I'm
That's
not gonna
good.
just
All
stick
right,
to
all right.
the coast.
Because have you been overseas
Brenton
before?
says.
Bren says, come. If you need a place to stay, there's plenty of B&Bs. You're more than
Per-
welcome to stay. We'll get you a
Perfect.
swag. Because have you traveled? So whereabouts have you traveled?
More or less just to Mexico and the United States, and then
Yeah.
across Canada.
Across Canada.
That's
Sweet.
yeah. So
So I've been pretty much just there.
yeah, just haven't left North America yet. So I'm itching. I leave for Europe in like a couple months, so that'll be
Oh,
exciting.
that'll be
Yeah,
good. What sort of are you doing? Like a Kentucky, or do you
I'm
guys have
doing.
Kentuckys?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Kentucky basically, oh, maybe it is an Australian thing, or Top Deck, I think's the equivalent. So Kentucky is a thing that a lot of Australians jump on. It's basically a whole bunch of young people going on a bus traveling around Europe. So you can let your
Oh,
imagination do the rest, and you sort of get to
yeah,
see everywhere, but you're also enjoying a lot of like people being around partying.
yeah. Well, mine will
Yeah.
be for like an exchange for university.
Oh, that'd be good. What are you
Yeah,
studying?
I'm studying business right now.
Oh man, full on
Yeah.
course, or like how many years is it?
I'm on my third year out of 4.5.
Oh, so nearly done.
I
Man, that'll be
know.
good.
Yeah.
So whereabouts in Europe are you going to go for your exchange?
I'm hoping either Milan or Paris.
Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Damn, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting to hear back.
Oh, okay, sweet. Do you reckon so you're just going solo?
Well, our whole class goes, but we go to
Yeah.
like all over Europe. We get to pick kind of where we're going. So yeah, we're all gonna just be like scattered, which is kind of
Oh,
nice because then you like
that's
have
incredible.
someone to meet up with wherever you want to go.
Yeah, you're not just like on your own being like, "Hi, I'm in a foreign country."
Yeah. But where have you
Yeah.
traveled? Where have you traveled?
I was really, really lucky when I was 16 to fly overseas by myself.
Hmm.
I flew over to America and then to the Bahamas, where
Hmm.
my uncle lives. I was very also lucky to go to Sri Lanka a few years
Mm.
ago and then New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I've been to America twice now and the Bahamas twice.
Hmm.
Next year, a bit more travel, hopefully Europe. My brother turns 18, so hopefully taking him to
Oh
Europe.
yeah.
Hopefully South America, maybe Italy, depending on what Focal's doing. I've got to get my bum into gear and get out to, to
Yeah. We'll
one of the
keep you updated on the
conferences.
locations.
Yeah, I'm like, right now, need to book it in. Let's go. Let's go meet these people in person.
Perfect. Well, I'm on my last question now. So, my last question is if you could give one piece of advice to yourself when you were just starting out, what would you have needed to hear?
Look, everything happens for a reason. There's been so many jobs that I've lost or haven't been able to do, and I've been really caught up on it. And everything happens for a reason. I think life, yeah, it's a great way to live life. Is like things happen, you
Hmm.
learn from them, and everything's going to be a new journey. You're
Hmm.
going to meet so many incredible people, and just keep doing what you're doing. Have fun, and just be yourself and enjoy people. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I'd change anything. I'm as much as the things that you go through in life. I think they've led to sort of where we are now.
Hmm.
And like more, my grandmother's a big one for saying everything happens for a reason with all the things that have happened in our lives. And I think it's a real testament. Like these things happen. They're a lesson learned and a journey to have. And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I want to keep on living, meeting
Perfect.
people, having fun.
A great motto.
So yeah.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brenton. This was amazing.
No, Jersey,
Um,
thanks for having me. It's been a
yeah,
blast.
this is so fun. And would you like to plug yourself on where people can find you if they want to find you?
Yeah, look, if you want to go on Instagram, it's just Brenton underscore Cox. Just kept it simple. There's no photography or anything in it. It's just Brenton underscore Cox. There's a guy wearing a Kuba and a camera in his hand, pretty much. So in a vineyard. So if you want to click on that, I think that's my profile photo. I don't know. There's been some dodgy ones recently. So yeah, no, that's probably the best place to find me. Yeah, no, it's good fun.
And then your website, it's just Brenton Cox
Brenton Cox
Photography.
Photography, yeah,
Perfect. Yeah,
.com, I think it is. Yeah. Just the best way
perfect.
to get onto the website. But if you go on the Instagram, the website's linked to the Instagram as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
No,
much for joining
groovy.
us.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Take care and have a great rest of your day. Yes, day.
Yeah,
It's daytime
yeah.
there.
Well, she's raining at the moment, so she might be just a pretty chill one.
She might be an inside kind of day.
Inside end day, yeah, no, too easy. All right, well, I'll catch you later.
Yeah,
See ya.
take care. Bye.